The winning blueprint presents.
Draft Zone.
Welcome to the Draft Zone. I'm your host, Lou. Thank you for joining me. This is the 2013 NFL Draft Wrap-Up. What we aim to do with this program is break down the NFL draft of every single team in the league individually, look at each and every single pick made by that team. In this case, we'll be talking about the New England Patriots and every pick that they made in the 2013 NFL Draft. Break down each pick, give them a grade for each pick using our baseball grading scale, of course, single, double, triple, home run. There are no strikeouts in the NFL Draft Wrap-Up, as we can never tell how these players will pan out in the league. And also, each team has very different grades on all of these players. It's varying degrees of grades on all of these players, and so you can't say that a team reached for a player or not, so there are no strikeouts in this drafting process. So we'll go through, give each and every single pick a grade, and it's not just the player we're looking at here to grade out. We're also looking at the pick itself, how it was made, when it was made, and how it might impact the New England Patriots in the 2013 season and moving forward. So a lot of different things to take into consideration when grading these picks. After we're done giving each pick a grade, we'll get an aggregate score for the New England Patriots in their entire draft, and then we'll move on. So I've got my draft board behind me. I've got my handy dandy pointer present. Let's get to the work and do some work on the New England Patriots and their draft. First thing I like to look at when I get to these draft boards to break down drafts are the needs. And looking at the Patriots, we know they're a very talented team. Not always the most talented, but they get the most out of what they have. So normally the needs aren't rampant on this football team. You look at the needs for the Patriots defensive line. They made the switch from a 3-4 defense for years to a 4-3 defense about a season or two ago, and so they're still in that transitional phase of trying to get every single piece necessary along that defensive line. You go from 3 linemen to 4. You need 2 big, beefy guys in the middle. They haven't had that. They're still trying to find that guy adjacent to Vince Wilfork. So they're still looking for defensive line help. Always can use pass rushers in a 4-3 defense, as well as in a 3-4 defense. Wide receiver, Brady needs more options to get the football to out wide. No more Brandon Lloyd, no more Wes Welker. Of course, they went out and got Danny Amendola. They still need more targets for Brady to throw the football to other than the tight ends. So they need receiver help. Cornerback has always been an issue for the New England Patriots, something that Bill Belichick has been trying to address. They had McCourty. They have moved him to safety. They have Aqib Talib on a 1-year deal. They also have Alfonso Dennard, but they still need more cornerback help through the New England Patriots. They re-signed Kyle Arrington, and so they can also use some more help at the cornerback position. Offensive line, I think it's a very steady position, but you lose value and depth in a guy like Thomas, and so you need more offensive line depth on this football team, and so that's another need for the Patriots. So you look at the draft board as a whole, round, pick, players, position, school. We're going to break each and every single one of these picks down, give them a grade. We start in the second round. Patriots had a first-round pick, traded it to the Minnesota Vikings, as they always do. And that's something that kind of perturbs me with the New England Patriots. They don't have upper echelon talent on their football team because they always seem to be trading away first-round selections. Now, look, it always helps them and benefits them down the road. But At some point, you need to stockpile first-round talent on your football team. These players that you get in the second, third, fourth, fifth round are there for a reason. And so the Patriots always neglect to draft first-rounders, and that kind of chaps me, and it kind of annoys me because that's their way of saying we're the Patriots. We do it the Patriot way. We don't need first-round selections to be a good football team. But you need first-round selections to get you over the top. There's a reason why a guy like Vince Wilfork is still on your football team and one of your better players. You got him in the first round. He wasn't a fifth-round selection. He was a first-round selection. You need more guys in the first round. Of course, you'll get the guys, hey, what about Tom Brady? He was a sixth-round selection. Those are rare cases. You need first-round talent on your football team. Not every player needs to be a first-round draft choice, but you need more of them on their team. This is one of the reasons why the Patriots aren't Super Bowl winners the last couple of seasons, because they don't have enough first-round talent on their team. And you could argue, well, they got to the Super Bowl, but they didn't have the players necessary to get them over the top. Last year, they finally came out of that funk and drafted two, not one, but two first-rounders. This year, they went back to their old ways, reverted to trading out of the first round and getting picks for down the road. So no first-round selection for the Patriots. We start in the second round, 52nd pick overall. Got this one from the Vikings, allowing the Vikings to go into the first round to select their third and final first-round pick, coming back out of the first round, getting their second and their third. So Patriots get linebacker out of Southern Miss, Jamie Collins, with that 52nd pick. And this is a really good pick for the New England Patriots. Look, here's a guy that can get to the quarterback from the linebacker position. And anytime you get a guy that can get to the quarterback at 6'3", about 250 pounds, that's a good addition to your football team. In this day and age, it is imperative that you get to the quarterback. And in a scheme-diverse system like the Patriots run, where you get 4-3, where you get 3-4, where you get 4-6, where you get nickel and dime packages, you need guys that are versatile, that can get to the quarterback, that can play in pass coverage, that can run around and do some things on the football field. Jamie Collins is a jack of all trades. He can stop the run. He can get to the quarterback. He can flank out wide in the slot against a tight end or against a slot receiver. He can play in some zone coverage. So I think Jamie Collins understands pass coverage as well as getting to the quarterback. Could he be stronger against the run? Sure. But Jamie Collins brings a very good skill set to the National Football League. And I think this is a really good pick for the Patriots here. I actually think that this guy, if not at Southern Miss, if he garnered more attention, he might have been a first-round selection. I just think that he's a guy that has a lot of talent, a lot of different skill sets that translate well to the National Football League. Very explosive athlete. I love explosion. Okay? He competed in 7 different events at the Combine, was in the top 3 in his class at his position in 5 out of the 7 events. So we're talking about a guy that was among the best out of his group in 5 out of 7 events at the Combine. So that's saying a lot. We're talking about a 4.5, 7, 4.6, 40 type of linebacker, so he can run. Very explosive, over 41 inches in the vertical leap. So right there, that alone tells you what kind of explosion you're dealing with this athlete here. So he's fast, he's athletic, he's strong enough, he can get stronger. I like this pick a lot. And I think the Patriots got themselves a gem here in the second round in the form of Jamie Collins, linebacker out of Southern Miss. It's a triple for me. I think that he's a guy that Bill Belichick will love to play around with, put him in different positions to try to get him to make plays in his defense. You look at the second of the 2 second-round picks for the Patriots. It's the 59th overall selection. This is their pick in the second round. They select wide receiver out of Marshall, Aaron Dobson. And to me, any receivers in this draft are necessary. Don't care if they come in the 2nd, the 3rd, the 5th, the 7th. They need receivers in New England. They haven't done a great job since Belichick has taken over of drafting receivers. We all remember Chad Jackson and Bethel Johnson, and the list goes on and on and on of Patriot receivers who have come in and did absolutely nothing for this football team. So if you are the New England Patriots, these guys who you draft in this draft need to work out. Because, again, no more Brandon Lloyd, no more Wes Welker. You do go out and go get Danny Amendola, but Danny Amendola is a casualty out there. He's a guy that you cannot rely on for 16 games. He is a guy that gets injured often, and so you need receivers to step up. You can go out and get all the second and third tier receivers in free agency all you want. You need to start getting some young guys in here that can play football. Aaron Dobson, I think, has the potential, and that's the thing. You're really basing what you see out of Aaron Dobson off of potential. Because the production at college, while it wasn't pedestrian, it wasn't great either. He never lit the college football scene on fire at Marshall. He was just extremely solid. Never, ever having more than 60 catches in a season. So the production, again, wasn't pedestrian, but it wasn't phenomenal either. He never went over 800 yards receiving in a season. So here's a guy that gave you solid production at college. I think what got him drafted here was, again, the potential for him to get better, but also the size. You can't teach size. At 6'3", about 215 pounds or so, and running about a 4.4, maybe 4.5 40, he's somewhere in that general vicinity. I say about a 4.4 40 guy, 4.5 1 40, somewhere in that general range. He's got athleticism. He can catch the football. He can make things happen. He's one of those guys that has to build up that speed, though. If he gets to 4.4 on the football field, it's after he's been running for about 10 steps. He's a guy that builds up that speed. He's a strider. So he's not a guy that's going to be extremely quick in and out of breaks. I like Dobson a lot because for the first time in his career, outside of Randy Moss, of course, at the wide receiver position, I think Dobson is going to be one of the few targets that Tom Brady has had in his career that's been extremely tall, a big target for him to throw the football to. At tight end, Brady's always had, tight ends that were a little big and he could get the football to, had a margin of error. But for the most part, all Brady's career, he's been throwing to smallest receivers. David Givens, Deion Branch, Wes Welker. All of his targets, for the most part, have been very smallish receivers. Dobson is 6'3". So for Brady, that's reminiscent of Randy Moss giving him a margin of error. The ball doesn't have to be precisely in a certain spot for him to catch it. If he misses the target by a few inches, hey, this guy's 6'3". So I've got more of a radius to throw the football to. I think that's an added value there as well. I like the pick. I have questions because I need more production. I need to see more out of Dobson. To warrant this second round selection, I need him to become a guy that the Patriots can rely on for 65 to 80 grabs a season. Now, do I expect that out of him in his rookie campaign? Absolutely not. With the tight ends on this football team that create mismatches and are going to garner a lot of attention, a guy like Aaron Dobson needs to step up and take advantage of one-on-one matchups, win those one-on-one matchups, and be a target in the red zone. If this guy only gets you 47 grabs, but can get you 8 or 9 touchdowns, so be it. That's great production, great value. But he has to use that frame to be a difference maker for the Patriots in their offense. And I think he can be. We'll see. Have questions? Let's see if Dobson and the Patriots have the answers. For me, this pick, based off of potential, is a triple. Off of the production I got at college, it's a double. But I'll give him the benefit of the doubt and say that based off of the production in conjunction with the potential that's there, it's a triple for Aaron Dobson, wide receiver out of Marshall, in the second round selection, 59th overall selection of the Patriots in the second round. It's a triple for Aaron Dobson. So we go to the needs board quickly, and we look at Dobson, a receiver, meets the need on this board. We'll put a line there, and we'll move on to the third round where the Patriots have another 2 selections in that round. So as we get into the third round and those selections, we start with the first of those 2. This pick coming from the Vikings. We talked about that trade that netted the Patriots 2 picks from the Vikings in this draft. We look at the third round, 83rd selection, cornerback out of Rutgers. And you'll find that this is a trend with Bill Belichick going to the Rutgers store. He loves shopping at the Rutgers market for players on the defensive side of the football. And you'll see that as we go down these lists of draft picks. He's turning the New England Patriots defense into the New England Scarlet Knights. So be careful and be on the lookout for that. So Logan Ryan, cornerback out of Rutgers, is the selection in the third round at pick 83. And to me, he's a physical corner. At 5'11", average height for a corner. Not the fastest guy. He's more quick than fast. So he's not a guy that's going to win a foot race. If a receiver gets on top of him, he's probably not going to catch them. But if he uses good technique and doesn't allow that receiver to get on top of him, he can be right in position to make plays on the football. I think he's the guy that you wouldn't mind putting in the slot because of his physicality. I think that this guy is not afraid. He's very fearless. Is not afraid to tackle. Isn't afraid to throw his body around. He doesn't mind getting in the fray. I love guys that love coming to the party with bad intentions. He doesn't come to shoestring tackle you. He doesn't come to hold you up until the cavalry arrives. He's coming to get you down on the ground. And again, at the quarterback position, I don't care how you do it, just do it. He does it aggressively. So that's an extra added bonus there because not only is he coming to get you down, he's coming to get you down with evil intentions. And so he's physical. He throws his body around. I like him a lot. I think that for this team, the Patriots need someone in the slot. And I think he's going to fit in the slot for the Patriots. The Patriots have guys that can play out wide. I don't think they have enough guys that can play in the slot. Logan Ryan is a guy that can play in the slot. And I think that's exactly where the Patriots are going to plan on using him. And I think he fits well in what Bill Belichick likes to do from the slot cornerback position. To me, it's a solid pick. In the third round, 83rd overall selection, cornerback out of Rutgers, Logan Ryan, is a double for me. Not a triple, because I think he's limited to the slot. I don't think he's the guy you want out wide. I think he's limited to the slot. I love the physicality, though, but I don't think that the speed isn't there. And I think that he's better served around the line of scrimmage. And I think he's better served in the slot. So for me, it's a double for the cornerback out of Rutgers, Logan Ryan, in the third round. You look at the second, third round selection that the Patriots hold. This is their pick. 91st selection, safety out of Rutgers. Here we go again with the Rutgers connection. Duron Harmon. Now, this guy is an interesting prospect because up until the end of his college career, he really wasn't on the NFL radar. A lot of scouts and a lot of teams weren't really paying any attention to Duron Harmon. But he was solid at college. His junior season, he was all Big East Conference at Rutgers. And so he was playing really good football. He had a drop-off in production from his junior to his senior year where he only got one interception. And he was still solid. He earned all Big East honors again, but it wasn't the same as it was in his junior season. But at 6'1", about 200 pounds or so, he's a guy that can run around. He's a 4'4", 4'5" guy. You know, late 4'4s, early 4'5s in terms of speed. Not afraid to tackle, can come up and make plays on the football, but isn't afraid to come up and support in the run. So you get a lot out of Duron Harmon. Again, a very solid pick by Bill Belichick. He knows this Rutgers program is what it is. He's studied them. He watches a lot of tape on them. They're right in the New England Patriots' backyard. So they're very familiar with the Rutgers program. And so he probably knows Duron Harmon a little bit more intimate than a lot of these other teams around the league because he shot up draft boards, but I don't think he was going to be a third-round pick for any other team in the league other than the New England Patriots. So did you reach for this pick? I can't say for sure. Again, it's kind of hard to decipher whether a team reached for a player or not, but I'll tell you one thing. If this guy comes in and performs at the level that Bill Belichick thinks he can, then you're getting a really good player here at 91 in the third round. To me, I look at him as a Patrick Chung replacement. He's a clone of Patrick Chung, a guy that's going to come in, be solid for you, never overwhelm you with the production he brings to you on the football field, but he'll be another solid cog for depth along that secondary at the safety position, play some special teams, do all the little things, but never really stand out as a defender on your defense. To me, in a nutshell, that's Duron Harmon. And to me, it's a double for the safety Duron Harmon out of Rutgers in the third round at the 91st overall selection. So we go back to the needs board to look at what the Patriots were able to accomplish in the third round. With their first selection in the third round, they drafted the cornerback Logan Ryan out of Rutgers. And so that meets the need. So we take that off the needs board. We go to the fourth round now at the 102nd pick in the draft, wide receiver out of TCU. This pick is from the Detroit Lions. Patriots select Josh Boyce. Now this is a really good pick. To me, in the fourth round, you're getting a really polished and accomplished receiver at TCU. At 5'11", not the biggest guy. He's not an ideal size receiver, but he more than makes up for it with all of his attributes and all of the things that he brings to the table. Looking at Josh Boyce, we're talking about a 5'11" receiver, but he's solidly built upper and lower body. We're talking about a 205-pound, 5'11" receiver. How many 5'11", 205-pound receivers are walking around the National Football League? Not many. Normally, when you get anything under 6 feet, you're getting under 200 pounds as well. Well, this guy is solidly built, which is evident by his 22 reps at the combine. So, again, much like Jamie Collins, here's another athletically gifted receiver who participated in 7 events at the combine, and in 5 of them, much like Jamie Collins again, was in the top third of his peers. And so Josh Boyce is definitely an athletically gifted receiver. Strong, physical, gets in and out of his breaks quickly. We're talking about a 4.3, 840 guy, so he can run. Has no problems extending and catching the ball away from his body. He has strong hands. Gets in and out of his breaks. I think, though, his game more translates to the slot at the next level in the National Football League. But I don't want to put this guy in a box like I did Logan Ryan at the cornerback position, saying that he's primarily a slot corner. I think this guy can play out wide as well, but I think his value will be greatest in the slot because he can get in and out of his breaks. He's a guy that I think is quick and fast. A guy like Danny Amendola, for me, not fast, just quick, in and out of his breaks. So it creates separation. This guy is quick and fast. So he can create separation by getting in and out of his breaks quickly, but then he can accelerate away from defenders when he catches the football. I like Josh Boyce a lot. I think this is a really good pick because he's not only fast, but he's strong. He's physical. So he beats jam, beats press coverage off the line, and gets into his routes quickly and gives Tom Brady an option and a target to throw the football to. I think the Patriots have done themselves some justice in this draft, getting guys who are polar opposites. Dobson, a 6'3", slower target, but bigger frame, a different type of option for Brady, whereas Josh Boyce is the direct opposite. Fast, shifty, smaller, but is going to create separation and give Brady an open target to get the football to. They are complements to each other, and I think the start of the Patriots getting receivers that can get it done at the National Football League level. I like Josh Boyce a lot. I think that this is a really good selection in the fourth round. Thought they got good value here. And being that this isn't even their pick, they got it from the Lions, it's more of the New England Patriots doing it the New England Patriots way. This is a triple for me. I love the pick. I think Boyce is going to be, in this draft, I think, one of the receivers that has the biggest impact out of all of these players in this draft. He has the potential to be one of the most ready-to-go players out of this draft. I think Josh Boyce is the guy that can help you a lot. Wide receiver out of TCU, Josh Boyce, for me, is a triple in the fourth round. So we go back to the draft board, and Boyce meets the need at receiver. Much like Dobson did, you take a mark there and put it through wide receiver. Once again, we go to the 7th round. Patriots have 2 7th-round selections. So we look at the 7th round, and we start with the 226th overall selection. This came from the Chicago Bears, defensive end out of Illinois, Michael Buchanan. So Michael Buchanan is an interesting prospect for me because here's a guy that last year, after his junior season, we were talking about potentially being a borderline first-round pick. He was across from Whitley Merciless, the first-round selection by the Houston Texans a year ago, and at times he outperformed and outshined Whitley Merciless on that defensive line. I mean, he was getting pressure, and he was starting to get it as a defensive lineman. And at defensive end, he got 7.5 sacks, about 13 tackles for loss. He was all over the place on that defense, across from Merciless. And it looked like if this guy could put on some weight, put on some muscle, come back stronger than ever and perform much like he did in his junior season, but a little bit better, we're talking about a first-round pick potentially in Michael Buchanan. But unfortunately for him, Merciless leaves, goes to the NFL. So his right-hand man and his partner in crime is gone, so more of the attention can be paid toward Buchanan. But more so than that, he gets in an accident over the summer before his senior season, causing him to have his jaw wired shut, which means he can only take in a liquid diet, which essentially sees him lose about 20 pounds. And for a guy that needed to put on about 10 or 15 pounds of muscle, to lose 20 pounds was extremely detrimental to his cause. And it really affected him on the football field in his senior season. He was not as productive. He looked lethargic. He wasn't as strong. And so he went from a potential first-round pick to a seventh-round selection because of one injury and one accident that happened that forced him to lose weight when he needed to gain it. So a very counterproductive offseason for Michael Buchanan going into his senior year. Wasn't the same guy. And if the Patriots can get their hands on him, build that system back up, get him in the weight room, which they will, get him stronger, here's a guy that has immense potential. And so this is an interesting prospect here. Not your average seventh-round pick. A guy that easily could have been somewhere up in the upper half of this draft, but circumstances didn't allow that to happen. Patriots get themselves a really good prospect, an intriguing one at the least. And so Michael Buchanan at 6'4", probably about 250, 55, maybe 60 pounds, is a very, very intriguing prospect. And I think this is a guy that if the Patriots are able to mold, and he doesn't have to play right away. He's a guy that they can platoon into the game. They're not asking him to come in and start right away, of course. He's a seventh-round pick. He's just trying to make the roster. If he comes in and shows the flashes of what they saw 2 years ago in his junior season, can put on the weight, and is a guy that they can get a lot of production out of in the future, if Bill Belichick sees what he thinks this guy can be, he'll not only make this roster, he'll be a guy that you have to look out for down the road for the New England Patriots. I think this is a risky pick, but in the seventh round, how risky are we talking? I think it's a very, very intriguing pick, and I've used that word several times, but I really think that's what this is, a very intriguing pick that down the road could pay dividends for the New England Patriots. I think that the defensive end out of Illinois, Michael Buchanan, is a double. And will he make the roster? Questionable at best. But I tell you what, if he goes in, shows flashes of the guy that was on tape in his junior season causing havoc opposite of Whitley Merciless, the Patriots could have themselves a diamond in the rough here. In the seventh round, 226th overall selection, defensive end out of Illinois, Michael Buchanan. So we finish up the draft, 235th overall selection, linebacker out of Rutgers. Here we go again. Rutgers, we've had 3 defensive players taken out of that university. Steve Bohanaris. And Bohanaris, for me, is one of those picks that you just get at the back half of the draft to try to fill your roster with some depth. I don't think this is a guy you want starting. He's a little undersized at the inside linebacker position. He's not fast enough to play at either the weak or strong side linebacker positions. He's, I think, physical enough, but he's another one of those quick, more so than fast guys. He's not fast at all, but he's quicker than you would expect. But Bo Hanaris, for me, is a guy that has to play all the special teams and has to work extremely hard to crack a roster. He's a try-hard guy. He's going to go out there, give you everything he's got. He's a solid defender, but he's nothing special. He's not a guy that you put on the field because you think that he's going to be a game changer. He's one of those guys you put on the field and he's invisible. You don't hear his name because he's not doing anything wrong, but you don't hear his name because he's not making plays either. So, to me, Steve Bohanaris, linebacker out of Rutgers, is a single for me. Long shot to make this roster. We'll see what Bohanaris can do for the Patriots, and can he crack this roster as a single in the 7th round at pick 235. So you look at this draft as a whole, and you look at Collins as a triple, Dobson as a triple, Ryan as a double, Harmon as a double, Boyce as a triple, Buchanan as a double, and Boharis as a single. You put it all together, and it's a solid double for the New England Patriots, which is okay. Again, being that they didn't have a first rounder because they traded it away, they still managed to get a lot of value in this draft, a lot of guys that I think can make an impact on this roster right away. You look at Collins, Dobson, and to me, Ryan and Boyce as guys that I think are locks to make this roster. Now you just got to see which one of these guys are going to separate themselves from the pack. Harmon is a guy that probably will make this roster as well. I'm not sure there. But being that they could use help at the safety position, I think that he's a guy that probably can make this roster. Buchanan, for me, is an interesting prospect. We already talked about him at great length. I think that he's a guy that if they can get the most out of him, get him in the weight room, he could be a guy that could be one of those hidden gems in this draft. And Buhanaris, for me, is a long shot to make this roster. And in the 7th round, every pick is a long shot at that point. So, to me, solid draft by the Patriots as a whole. And again, a lot of these picks aren't even theirs. They do a great job of stockpiling picks for the future. My gripe with them is that they don't select first-round talent. They don't get guys in the first round because they trade their first-rounders away to stockpile for the future, which is fine because it always keeps them with options moving forward in the future. But if you want to win now, and your best chance to win is now because you got Tom Brady as your quarterback, you need to be getting first-round talent now, not down the road. Tom Brady isn't getting any younger, and you don't have a quarterback of the future on the roster unless you think Ryan Mallett is that guy. I just think you need to get first-round talent while you can still win right now, while you still have Brady, while you still have Belichick, while you still have one of the best shots at winning the Super Bowl. Get talent now. They don't do that. They get talent down the road. And so that's the only gripe I have with the Patriots. Let's clean up this needs board. You get Steve Buchanan, defensive end out of Illinois in the 7th round. He's a defensive lineman that meets a need. Patriots didn't address the offensive line. They'll probably do that via rookie free agents who weren't drafted. So undrafted rookie free agents will probably be the way they look to address that. But all in all, that's it for the New England Patriots. I think they had a solid draft. A double is what they netted here in the 2013 NFL Draft wrap-up. And if you're the Patriots, if 4 of these guys can come out and be great producers for you, then you felt like you had a wonderful draft. And I think that 4 of these guys can be exactly that for the New England Patriots. And so that's going to do it for the Patriots in the 2013 NFL Draft wrap-up.
Draft Zone.